What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder. Two really awesome updates about two really highly anticipated projects coming from Marvel Studios. One, of course, being Avengers Doomsday, and the other being The Thunderbolts. We have news about the test screenings for The Thunderbolts, and we have kind of a follow-up to our video yesterday where I talked about how the Russo brothers said that the script for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars as well, because they're writing both with Stephen McFeely, they said that the script, the story, is going to be radical and challenging. And in this video, I talked about how we might get an evil Avengers team, and now we have more news about that to back that up and further explain what exactly is happening with Dr. Doom's Avengers team in Doomsday. We also have the runtime for the Thunderbolts, so let's dive into what we've recently heard about the Thunderbolts and the test screenings, and then dive into what we just heard about Avengers Doomsday. So I have great news for the runtime. It's been revealed that the runtime for the Thunderbolts is going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I think this is great news because it means a couple of different things here, but one, of course, is I just prefer a longer runtime. I prefer more of what I love to see. Awesome superhero movies, in which I'm hoping this movie is awesome. And based on what we're hearing from these test screenings, the reactions from people, it sounds like that's what we're going to be getting. But this also means that the movie probably wasn't cut up too much. Captain America Brave New World was about 2 hours, but we know that they cut a lot of scenes out of it, specifically with the Serpent Society. They also cut a funeral scene that we saw leaked photos for very early on when the filming for Brave New World started, and this was most likely President Ross's death, and they decided to change this. We did hear a leak that originally told us that President Ross was going to die at the end, and it makes sense considering that we do have the photos of that leaked scene, but never saw it in the film. Also, his daughter, Betty Ross, was there at the funeral as well. So Captain America Brave New World could have been longer, but they cut a lot of scenes out. However, they did add additional scenes in there, like Giancarlo Esposito's scenes. Overall, it was about 2 hours, so I am glad that the next movie that we are getting is a little bit longer. And the great thing is, we haven't really heard about any problems with the Thunderbolts. Nothing nearly compared to all the things that we heard about Brave New World. We haven't heard anything about reshoots, complete script rewrites, scenes cut out, scenes added in. We haven't heard anything, but we have recently heard from a couple of different accounts about the test screenings for the Thunderbolts. It sounds like they did one very recently, which makes sense. The movie is about to come out in about 3 months here. It comes out May 2nd. So test screenings happening right now definitely line up with the timeline. So here's what we've heard. An account online stated Captain America Brave New World suffered one of the top 3 worst second weekend drops ever in the MCU. And it did, unfortunately, but that is what it is. And then they say, hey, Thunderbolts, you should be worried. This was always going to be a tough year for Marvel. And while I disagree with this being a tough year for Marvel, I actually think this is one of the most exciting years for Marvel that we've had in a long time. I mean, we have a new Captain America, the Thunderbolts seems like it's going to be pretty awesome. We have the Fantastic Four, we have Daredevil Born Again about to release next week, plus many other shows. I think it's going to be a good year. But a reply to this from the A+ Hero Report said this: Thunderbolts is not Brave New World. I hear Thunderbolts is a beast of a film and has scored extremely high in its test screenings. Brave New World may drag it down financially, but I expect it to make more than Brave New World overall, and nowhere near the drop-off in week 2. We also hear from the Marvel Updates account, Thunderbolts had the best test screening of any movie or series in Phase 5. And that right there, I think, says a lot because Deadpool and Wolverine has super high praise, and I believe when everybody saw the test screenings for it, they really liked it as well. Now, it is a little bit more confusing than the Thunderbolts is going to be, and if there were a lot of people in the test screenings who didn't really follow the MCU that closely, then sure, it might not have been received as well as the Thunderbolts because we know how Marvel does their test screenings. They basically send out an email to everybody who works at Disney asking if they want to go see a test screening, and they do not tell them what the movie is. They simply say, hey, it's going to be a movie. It's a test screening for a movie about to come out. Do you want to see it? Yes or no? Then they show up and then they find out. And they do this so they don't specifically get just all of the MCU fans who are super excited to see another Marvel movie, and then they have a biased opinion on the film, and it does work most of the time. This allows studios to make cuts and changes to parts that general audiences and even fans might not understand. So overall, hearing that the Thunderbolts has the best test screenings of any movie or series in Phase 5, that's pretty dang good. And honestly, all the trailers that we've seen so far for the Thunderbolts look amazing, and the cast is amazing as well, and the character interactions so far have been really awesome to see. Plus, Sentry is coming, and his powers look ridiculous. It's awesome. So let me know how excited you are for the Thunderbolts in the comments down below. below. Now, going into a leak for Avengers Doomsday, like I mentioned yesterday, we did a video about what the Russo brothers recently said at their premiere for their new movie, The Electric State. Of course, when they were being interviewed, people had to ask about Avengers Doomsday. That's the big thing coming from them relatively soon. Not to take away from their current movie, it looks really good. It has Chris Pratt in it and Millie Bobby Brown. I'll definitely be seeing that, but of course everybody's wondering what's up with Avengers Doomsday. And like I mentioned, they said that the story they're super excited about, and it's going to be very radical and challenging to not just them, but the audience as well. I mentioned that I thought, because we've heard rumors in the past, that there's going to be sort of an evil Avengers team and they would have to go up against our new Avengers team. Well, as it turns out, this seems to be right. According to a leak from a friend of our channels and mine, Paul from Heavy Spoilers. He did a video 2 days ago titled, "Here is what I heard about Avengers Secret Wars," where he talks about a leak that he has been told. Now, he says take it with a grain of salt, like all leaks of course, but here's what he said essentially. He says that based on what he is told, he believes that the plan is indeed to have what he calls mirror characters in Doomsday and Secret Wars as a part of Doctor Doom's team, such as Sam Wilson and Captain America, Steve Rogers, Yelena Belova and Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, and Peter Parker, and, well, I'm assuming Doctor Doom, or maybe there is going to be another evil variant of Iron Man out there. So basically the idea is to have our heroes come face to face with their predecessors / their mentors / people who they really cared about. But in the video, he specifically mentions an emotional reunion between Yelena and Natasha. But here's the twist. It sounds like in the beginning, initially, our Avengers won't realize that this other Avengers team are actually a kind of twisted, evil version of the people who they once knew and loved. Paul said this, "Doom is leading an evil group of Avengers that come from another Earth. The entire point of creating these characters that reflect the original lineup is because they'll be facing off against each other." So this backs up previous reports that we've heard before. There's going to be an evil Avengers team, and it's going to pit our characters that we have now in the MCU as a part of the new Avengers lineup against essentially the old Avengers, our OG Avengers. And this also falls in line with the reports that we've heard about Chris Evans returning in Avengers Doomsday, as well as Scarlett Johansson. And at this point in time, since they're doing this evil Avengers team, I'm going to assume that they are going to address the fact that Doctor Doom looks exactly like Tony Stark. And again, I will state this, I'm not sold on the report that Robert Downey Jr. is indeed playing Victor Von Doom. I know the Russo brothers have said that he is playing Victor, and I know Robert Downey Jr. mentioned Victor as well, and he very well could be Victor Von Doom, who simply looks like Tony Stark, but I'm not convinced. I still think that he could be playing a Tony Stark variant who is evil. Or maybe not even evil, but just goes about dealing with the threat of the multiverse being destroyed a different way than our normal Tony Stark would. Again, in the comics, the only way to save your universe from an incursion is to destroy the other Earth. And to some Avengers like Captain America, that's not cool. You can't just kill another Earth, even if it means the destruction of your own. But to some people like Tony Stark, that is the option. One of us survives or neither of us survive, and if one of us is going to survive, it's going to be us, not the other world. So that could be how this variant of Tony Stark is essentially, kind of air quotes here, evil, because he's willing to do a horrible thing to save himself. And perhaps he's from another Earth that is going to collide with ours, and so he's going to try to destroy ours. Him with his Avengers team that is reportedly a twisted variant team. And I gotta say, I'm here for it. And I think that's what the Russo brothers mean when they say it's going to be challenging for the audience and radical as well. Because it's going to be hard to see these OG Avengers played by the OG actors who have been our heroes for over a decade become the villains. And now Paul from Heavy Spoilers Report backs up other reports that we have heard in the past as well. And things are kind of all starting to fall together as what to expect for the story of Avengers Doomsday. So go ahead, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Are you excited for the Thunderbolts? And if this is the story for Avengers Doomsday so far, to have an evil, twisted variant Avengers team working for Doom, does that excite you? Is that something you'd like to see? Let us know in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel news, rumors, or leaks. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.